Order our regular city commission meeting. It's Monday, January 22nd, 2018. It is now 7 o'clock p.m. If everyone could please rise and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. This evening we are being joined by Pastor Edwin Brinklow, and he will be speaking. He will be giving the invocation this evening. Did I see Edwin? No. Alrighty, well, we're going to pass right by the invocation. This evening we are going to hear from a special guest. The Carlin family is here this evening to talk a little bit about their CO2 detector drive. If you guys can just come right on up to the microphone here. All righty, excellent. Chief Marks Sy is going to help you with the microphone in a second because we have varying degrees of tallness here at City Hall.
Thank you.
Very good.
All right.
My name is Sy Carlin, and I'm joined here with my sister Katala and Kaliana and my mom Stacy. And basically, what we're doing is we're raising money for carbon monoxide detectors for families in Buchanan who don't have any or can't afford them. And the reason we wanted to do this was because last summer, my sister woke up because she wasn't feeling so good and told my mom. And then from the bathroom, my mom heard my baby sister making some strange noises. Then shortly after that, she began starting to feel sick. And she knew something was wrong, but she didn't know what. So she dragged my sister by her hand, carried my other sister by her other hand, and woke me up. And we stayed on the driveway for the longest 10 minutes of our life waiting for the ambulance to come. And we don't want that to happen to anyone else in Buchanan. And so we raised money for carbon monoxide detectors, and we ended up getting $3,500 and 350 carbon monoxide detectors. And we were able to sell 150 of them. We'll give away, yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about how'd you give them away?
Well, on January 6th, we held a distribution at the fire department where if anyone who needed a carbon monoxide detector from, I think it was like 1 to 3, they could come down and get one. And basically, we had a lot of people in line at first, and then we just had a lot of people come, and it was an overall success.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
All right.
Very
Any
good.
questions
Great.
from the commissioners?
No, thank you for getting involved with this. I'm sorry you had to go through a bad issue there, so this is good. Thank you for standing up and talking, too.
You're
Do you
welcome.
think you're going to get any more, or get more money and get some more to give out?
Well, we still have about 200, so
Oh.
I think the fire department has some in their truck to see if anyone needs one. And I think we're leaving some here at the city.
Yeah, we'll give some to Mayor Hess to leave here at the city.
So if anyone wants to pick one up, we'll do that. And at our schools, we're also giving them out to teachers who need them. So,
Very
Excellent.
good.
Anybody else have anything?
Thank
Well,
you.
Congratulations.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much,
Yeah.
Sy. We are very proud of you. And thanks for taking time out of your busy lives. And doesn't Sister have a basketball game or something? All right. Well, hey, thank you. Have a nice evening, and thank you for coming. All right, and with that, we're at roll call. Gladys?
Hess?
Here.
Cole? Yes. Moore?
Here. Carney?
Here.
Bianski?
Yes.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. And we are on to public comments. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any agenda item. And we will adjust the microphone for you. Come right on up. And don't forget to say your name and your address.
All right, I can bend over. I'm Randall Pitt, 312 West Chicago Street. And I show my ignorance because I would like to know what a closed session is at the end of the agenda after the commissioners. There's a 15268 closed session. Does that mean we get kicked out or what happens?
Okay, a closed session is when we discuss personnel matters or other confidential things, like if we were going to buy a piece of land, something where if we talked about it in the open, our negotiating would be severely hampered by talking. So we're going to go into the closed session, and the purpose is to review Chief Marks's
Review.
Yes, it's just his annual review for his employment. You're more than allowed to, you're more than, more than welcome to stay, but we usually just come back and adjourn. So usually people choose to leave before we go into closed session. So that's what that's all about.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going over his report card. Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, Randall. Come right on up.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen. Jeff Griffin, B&W Old Village Inn.
Hi, Jeff.
I want to say that within last Saturday, we reached 102,000 people that we've served in Buchanan. But I think that the economic impact that you're bringing on with items 7 and 8 are going to change this town drastically. I appreciate whoever brought all this into town and got this started. The economic impact and just the overall foot traffic that we may see in town, I believe will be a great thing. I've heard nothing, really nothing bad. Hope everybody gets educated on what's going on, and I just want to say how we support it, and I hope that we prepare for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you for your input. Okay, anyone else this evening? All righty. And with that, I'll close public comments. We're going to go on to item number 5, the consent calendar. I need a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I will second it.
Okay. Motion by Cole, seconded by Turney. I need a roll call, please.
Hess?
Yes?
Moore?
Yes.
Carney?
Yes.
Bianski?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I just want to ask one question,
Yes, go right ahead.
if I can.
Yes.
The Michiana Cruisers. Last year, we postponed the rummage sale. Is this the same thing? Was that for class or something last year?
The rummage sale was altered because of the Buck Teens event,
Right.
as I remember.
But it
So,
was Michiana Cruisers, wasn't it?
no, it was not. The Buck Teens was the event that kind of caused us to look at the schedule to move at a weekend to not be in conflict with the Buck Teen event, which, it brings in 600-plus people into town, and so adds a little bit to the traffic in town, and that conflict was what we discussed and moved it that weekend. And I think the schedule still holds true, that we'd like to maintain the rummage sale date that we used last year. Buck Teens, I believe, is the same weekend. I don't know, Commissioner Moore, if you remember what that,
I think the Book Teens is always I think it's the first
June.
weekend in June
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
first weekend, and we did it
And
the
I
second.
think Michiana Cruisers is more in May, isn't it? That is down by the,
Centennial Park.
the Centennial Park, and that is different than the cruise-in, which is what I think he's
Oh,
referring
okay,
to.
I'm sorry. I haven't heard if, for Buck Teens, if they are planning a car show with that.
I don't know
I
either.
haven't heard any of the details yet, but as soon as I know, I'll get it in a,
So it is just it's a different thing altogether?
yes. yes.
Okay, that's all. Thank
Yeah,
you.
they did have a car show with Buck Teens as well last year, so
Right.
don't know if they haven't approached me and let me know what their plans are.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, and with that, we'll go on to item number 6, reports by departments, committees, and boards. This evening, for item A, we'll be hearing from about the Buchanan Dial-A-Ride, and this evening we have President Kim O'Haver from Transportation Management Incorporated. Welcome, Kim.
Oh,
We need a remote control for that, don't we? Yes.
There was Kim sent me
Yes.
a attachment, and there's one at your places,
It looks like this.
Yep, got it.
Yes.
Got it, Kim.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay. Madam Mayor and Commissioners, I'm happy to be here tonight to talk about Dial-A-Ride. For any of you who don't know about Dial-A-Ride, we operate a 3-bus system in the city of Buchanan and its areas. They are all lift equipped, so we are able to transport people who are wheelchair bound or who need to use a walker and use the lift to get into the bus and out of the bus. We operate from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. 5 days a week, and we operate from 9 to 3 on Saturdays. We also have several shuttles between Buchanan and Niles during the course of the day. I'll go right to the numbers here. I'm looking at the sheet that compares fiscal year 2016 to 2017. You will see that our numbers are down. There are a number of reasons. The big reason is that numbers are down all over the county. We're not sure why, but sometimes we think maybe that has a direct correlation to fuel prices. When fuel prices go down, people are more willing to drive rather than to ride the bus, and so they will do that. We also, since we are such a small system, if we lose 2 or 3 regular riders, that adds up fast and it makes a big difference. And we did lose a woman who had an aide. Aides are free to ride on the bus, but there would be 2 of them riding every time, and they were very, very regular users. She has gone into assisted living, not in this area, so we lost her. We lost several others. So that's another reason why the numbers are down. But as I said on this information sheet, all is not lost. And I'd like to move on to the next sheet, which compares the first 3 months of last year to the first 3 months of this fiscal year. And when we look at that, we will see that all the numbers are up. I like to see numbers that are increasing. Vehicle hours are up, miles are up, ridership is up as well. And one of the reasons that the ridership has increased thus far in the first quarter of the fiscal year is that we are transporting 2 young men with physical disabilities. We are taking them to school. The school bus is not lift equipped and the school bus cannot transport them. So we take them to and from school every day. They ride every day. I understand that they are twins, both in wheelchairs. And so we have been taking them. That increases our numbers. We are also doing some job-related trips, and I'm particularly happy about those. And we are transporting one person who lives in the Niles area to her job at FAPCO, and we are taking her on a daily basis. So we've had more operating days during the first 3 months of this year. We had a couple of snow days a year ago, and the weather has been more cooperative thus far. We have not had closings or delays this time. And also, last year, the holidays fell kind of funny. And so we had more Friday or Monday holidays than we had during the first quarter of this fiscal year. So those are the good numbers. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about the dial-a-ride system before I do the funding application.
Okay,
Yes.
I gotta raise my hand.
go right
I'm
ahead.
messing with everybody.
Commissioner Dan?
Is Benton Harbor gonna join the whole bus fleet or not?
It's my understanding that they're not.
Are we anywhere on this now to where, are we
Well-
moving along on that?
What they're doing right now is they're doing a transportation plan for Berrien County. And what that is, okay, if we formed an authority, and at least 3 of the transit systems, not including Benton Harbor, were to combine, what would that look like? How would we set up routes? How would we reach from the North County to the South County? How would we make it easier for someone to get from one end of the county to another? They are working on that transportation plan right now. There was a consultant hired by the Planning Commission, and their report is supposed to come out at the end of April. So until that point, I am not on any of the committees, so I really don't know a whole lot more than that.
Any idea why Benton Harbor didn't wanna join?
They are pretty much focused on their own area. They feel like they want to serve their own people. They also have a millage. And I think there's a little fear there that they would be giving up their millage or giving up control of their millage or be supporting the rest of the county on their millage. And that is really one of the sticking points, I think, that everyone is focusing on. You know, how can we make it attractive for the areas that have a millage, serving the rest of the county that does not have a millage? That's one of the hard parts.
Right. Anyone else?
No.
Thank you, Kim, for always keeping us up to date on what's going on with Dial-A-Ride. And I happen to know those 2 young men. They come to my school, and we are very happy that Dial-A-Ride could help them get to school
So glad.
on time and in a safe manner. So thank you. Pass along our thanks to the drivers too, because they're sparky. They've got spunk. Thank you. All right, and with that, we're going to move on to item B, under reports by departments, committees, and boards, and we're going to hear from our inspector, Guy Lewis, this evening. He's from our building department. Guy?
Mayor, we'll have to reschedule that one for the next meeting.
Okay. All righty.
We had a conflict tonight.
All right, and this evening we were supposed to hear from Buchanan School Board Superintendent Timothy Donahue. Is he here this evening? There he is. Hi. People sneak in and sneak out. I kind of missed the boat. Thank you.
I might need this one adjusted.
You can probably reach it. It's right there.
Oh, sure. It's a problem I've had all my life, 6'4". So.
Nice.
Well, good evening, Commissioners and Mayor Hess. It's a pleasure to be here this evening to introduce myself and make a face-to-face connection with the members of the City Commission for Buchanan. It's been a pleasure to be selected as the superintendent of Buchanan last spring. And I came on board in July, and now I can't believe it's already late January, so the school year is really flying by. I've met a lot of dynamic people and a lot of passionate people about doing the best for the kids of this community, and that's been very, very encouraging to me as a superintendent. As a superintendent, I come to Buchanan with many years in the classroom as an English teacher at the high school level, and then I was also a high school principal for a few years before I got placed into the superintendent position for a small district outside of Lansing, Michigan called Potterville. I was there for 7 years and then made the move now here to Buchanan in July of 2017. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what my principles are and what my priorities are, so you have a little bit of sense of the leadership I'm instituting at Buchanan Community Schools. I talk to the staff and to students about my priority being kids first. And what I mean by that is that all the decisions we make as an education institution, all the programs we implement, all the budgetary considerations we make, we always have to prioritize the needs of our kids first. And so I'll always be returning to that conversation anytime you're in a room with me and we're thinking about what can the city do, how do the schools operate, what programs do we need to institute, how does this impact and help our kids. The second major priority I have is that student achievement is everybody's mission. It's not just the schools, it's not just the parents, it's not just the students, it's everybody working together in my philosophy. So I need you to encourage the kids of our community that education is their priority, their achievement is their goal, so that they have the best opportunities that they can have for themselves as they leave this community to pursue post-secondary education and then perhaps come back and start their adult life here in Buchanan. I've heard many stories, and I've met many staff members who say their parents went to school here, their grandparents went to school here, and even beyond that. That's an amazing, amazing circumstance, and that says a lot about the strength and vibrancy of this community. I would like to talk then about the strategic plan for Buchanan Community Schools. The first element of that is we'll be making sure that all of our efforts are about increasing student achievement at all levels, taking a look at our facilities and what they're like and how they could perhaps be better. We'll be looking at our culture and climate. How do we ensure that staff and students and parents and other district stakeholders feel welcome and accepted and safe in our schools so that those schools are a place that they can find success and connection. We'll also be looking at our internal and external communications. An opportunity like this to come and talk to you this evening is an example of that. How do we reach out to stakeholders so they know who we are and what we're doing? And then lastly, we'll be looking at technology. I'm old, you can tell, and the way kids learn today is much different than the way many of us learned when we were in school ourselves. They're digital natives. They have to learn through technology. And so we'll be taking a look at what Buchanan is doing as it delivers both teaching and learning practices using technology. I've met many other community groups. I had the pleasure of talking in front of our senior citizens this past fall, the College Club. I've been to several Buchanan Promise board meetings, and those have been very encouraging. That was a very nice draw for me coming here to consider the superintendency. Having the Promise program is an amazing opportunity, and it says, again, a lot about this community and its investment in its kids and in its future. I'd like to close with one last point that I can update the board on. Our Board of Education just this past December received the results of a finance and facilities audit that was conducted by Skillman. And I'll be honest, one of the red flags when I came to Buchanan this past spring to interview was taking a look at our school structures. We have some that are very, very nice, and we have others that are in various states of age and perhaps disrepair. And so the board received in December a full report on what it would cost to upgrade those facilities to where they need to be. So one of my goals with the board in the coming months will be to start to send that information out to our community. I can share copies of that and do a presentation here with the City Commission at a future date, because we need to look at what our facilities say about our investment in our kids. In closing, I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you this evening. I'd be happy to entertain any questions you might have.
Dale?
Actually, I have two questions.
Yep.
First one is how far behind is Buchanan in the technology area? Do you know?
Well, that is an interesting question, because I had a meeting about a month and a half ago where we looked at our budget, and our budget has stagnated year after year. For almost 15 years, we've not done additional investments in technology. So to put a certain number on that, how far behind are we, I can't say for sure, but I was astounded that we haven't made that financial investment in upgrading our technology. I think the core infrastructure is strong, but when we're delivering teaching and learning practices with devices in kids' hands, I'm afraid we lag a little bit behind.
Well, that leads me into question number two. Has anybody explained to you how hard it is to get taxes to pay for that in this particular city? We've tried several times, but the outlining areas just knock us down. I have no respect for the city of Buchanan. And we've tried several times to try to improve our schools and improve our structures. And most of the time, they either have to be canceled or they have to cut them back, which puts our schools at a disadvantage. So that's why I sort of wanted to bring these up to you, to sort of what you're looking at.
No, and I appreciate that. I have heard the anecdotes.
I'm for it.
Okay.
I have no kids here, but I'm for it.
Well, right, and that becomes the crux of the issue is what do we as a community say we want to invest in our kids? And I certainly understand those folks who don't want any increases or to extend out current debt. I do understand where they're coming from, but in my mind, when I think about the future of Buchanan and the wonders of this Buchanan Promise program, and then we say, here, come to our nearly 100-year-old high school building, which doesn't have even the electricity needs that I think 21st century schools have to have. So it's a hard issue. I know those factions are out there, but the conversation is worth having, and I'll continue to do that.
I just want to let you know what you're up
People have
against.
prepped me for that, yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Commissioner Viganski?
First and foremost, Stark School. Are you gonna keep it? Are you gonna get rid of it?
It is still for sale.
It is actually for sale.
Yes, it is.
Because I haven't seen a for sale sign. I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum. Buchanan's school taxes are pretty high compared to the outlying, and so I always vote no against tax increases. Basically because I just don't feel for the amount of money, the number of millages that they charge the property owners, we're not getting value for dollar. I understand the buildings. I mean, I'm fighting the infrastructure here all the time. You just got to squeeze it somewhere. And I'm more than willing. And I mean, that Stark School is one fine example. It's been sitting empty 4.5 years.
Yeah, I've heard that story too. I'm a little bit alarmed by that length of time that it has been.
Well, they were
in that-
scared of competition by a unfunded public school, basically. But, you know, I'm willing to beat the bushes, but usually when it comes to tax increases, I'll be on the opposite side every time.
We'll have that conversation when we get there.
Right.
Hey, anyone else? Carla? Pat? Anything?
Welcome to the
Yes.
community. It's
Thank you
kind
so
of,
much. I appreciate
we hope
that.
we will see you back often.
Yes,
Yes.
and
Keep
I
the line of
extend an invite
communications.
to you as well to join us at school board meetings. They're posted on our website.
And
Thank you very
hopefully
much.
you'll send someone to the recreational board and we hope that you'll take this advantage of that.
Great. Thank you so much, Tim.
Thank you.
again.
Welcome to Buchanan.
Yes. All right, we're on to item number 7, unfinished business. We're on item A, consider discussion on medical marijuana dispensary application and permits. And I'm going to turn it over to Bill.
Mayor, Commissioners, again, we've pursued a process where we kind of establish first come, first serve for our applicants in the, the 5 levels or 5 segments of the supply chain of medical marijuana that we've approved, opted in on. And we find ourselves presently with 5 applicants for the 5 dispensaries. We have a 6th one in a holding pattern in line. If any of those 5 are find themselves unavailable to complete the process or trip up along the way. So again, I wanted to kind of brief you on that. What has appeared and that I want to alert you to is that the applications kind of are in balance of what we had a discussion about earlier through this whole process. We talked about C3 as possibly getting 1 applicant downtown. Presently, as we stand with the 5 that have submitted, we have 3 applicants for downtown. Redbud Tap is one of the buildings. The bakery recently that just opened is going to move on to another location from what I hear, and that is one of the applicant addresses. And then Philstrom, across the street next to the alley, is the 3rd location. The other 2 uptown are the Chemical Paint Building and then Dr. Brown's office. The 6th applicant who's in line would be Tailgaters. That's the location that we're aware of on that applicant. So just wanted to bring that out into the open. The imbalances are there from our original discussion. Rick is here tonight also, and there is an interpretation in the process that, the word may approve applicants is in there, as well as, it is up to you to finally approve them. So you have some options if the balance ends up not being acceptable to you at the time the applications are presented for approval and review. So that's kind of what I wanted to get out to you and the audience as well, where we're at. The growers applicants, so we have 3 of them to be considered tonight, and then we have 1 in process, and actually 2 in process. So those will be at another meeting, another discussion. But so where we're at with the dispensaries, which are, I know, have been kind of the emotional issue with a lot of this. We have 3 downtown, 2 uptown, and they are in varying degrees of background work at this time. And so in the future meetings, you'll get some information to work with and make a decision on. But I wanted to make you aware that there's a word in the ordinance that says may approve, and ultimately you do have the final say on what does get approved. So, Rick,
questions?
you want to add any more, or at least in the dispensary discussion?
Well, I'll just say that the Buchanan's ordinance starts pretty clearly that there's a maximum number of each permit. So if you have 5 applicants, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to approve the 5. You may want to hold 1 in the bank or hold 2 in the bank for down the road, or if you're not happy with the applications that are presented to you. It does say that, the process is that the city commission shall assess the applications referred to it pursuant to that ordinance. So you have a lot of different variables that you can consider in your review and evaluation of each of the applications. And it does indicate that this is not a shall approve, this is a may approve. So there's a pretty clear distinction, and that this is a discretionary vote, and I think that's the idea behind this Facilities Act, that it gives the municipality a wide array of latitude in this application process. And I think that's why the state, one of many reasons why the state is staying out of the local municipalities' decision-making.
I have a question. Have any of our applicants received word from the state that they've been approved yet? Where is the state? I have not seen an update lately from the state.
I doubt that any applicants have received word. I've heard estimates, sometime in February, maybe March, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Don't we have to approve them
Hang on a
first before
second.
they actually send them to the
That's what
state?
I
So-
thought. I thought we had to approve
Let
it.
her finish.
Hold on a second. So no one that you know of has actually received a.
Correct.
Okay. All
And
right.
it's not necessarily true that the municipality has to approve first. It's really kind of the who came first, the chicken or the egg.
Right.
No one really. It could go either way. The municipality could approve, but it's approved conditioned upon the license being
Obtained by the state.
provided by the state.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Commissioner Viganski?
Well, just to that same argument, you're giving the state $6,000, you're giving the city $5,000. So, the progression of things would be $5,000 to the city first and then to the state. Just don't think like a lawyer for a minute. That would be the natural progression of things.
Well, the application process, generally goes the municipality, and then the applicant who provides the application to the state then, or the municipality is then required to provide the state the ordinances that are permitting the opting in of the permits that the applicant is seeking.
Right.
So, but but yeah, you've got to have a place for it, but people can apply for
Right,
the licenses.
right.
And again, going back, we had conversations with Laura, and their recommendation was strongly that local efforts be done first before they arrive at their door, which would really greatly facilitate their maneuvering through the state process. So that's where we have presented that the information from Laura was it's best to get the locals done and then move on.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Moore?
Is there any downside of turning an application down? Is there a threat of a potential lawsuit, or is there any exposure that the city has if we actually turn someone away?
Well, certainly someone is always, I know in Niles, an applicant was denied, and I think there was talk of threatening a lawsuit, but this is, the statute is pretty clear that this is not a property right. There's no vested interest. This is essentially a lottery. The application fee is high, but the benefits are potentially high as well. And it's the city's job to assess the best fit for it. And based on those applications, that's the city commission's job to, with the help of the reports from the city departments, to make that assessment. So is there a threat? There's always a threat, I suppose. Anyone and everyone can file a lawsuit, whether it's valid or not. I don't, for simply denying an application, I can't answer that, but I would say no.
Okay, Commissioner Pat, go ahead.
If there is, since we are lottery type of system, basically we're assigning numbers in the order that people have presented themselves in the materials. Then we are getting back with people to fill in any gaps or any problems. And if there are not, say if there is delay or something, I just want it to be out. Is there a chance that someone would lose that number and someone else would get ahead of that other person? What is our policy as far as like how that is processed and worked through? And then at the point of time when the whole application, all of these reports are all complete for our review, and then we would be getting that application to review. And we would know this is the number one person that was in the first in line.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
Gladys has definitely identified these applicants and is working through the application process. She receives them. She works and determines their completeness. She works with Aaron Whitfield from the police department, who's a part-time officer. He's doing a lot of legwork on the background, but Gladys is very focused on making sure the applications are complete. Okay, staff will review them. Each department head, she distributes the application to. Everybody has a little bit of a section of the application to review and follow up on and confirm. And in your packets, you've received some of the memorandums from these department heads on the responses. So that's the process. Again, do we have a roadmap to move forward? No, we're kind of building the roadmap as we go, because there isn't an instruction book out there right now. We're writing one. What we have is Gladys has been working with them. She's identified applications that are still in need of some information. She's provided that to them verbally and by written message, and they're given a reasonable time to respond back. Everybody has been fairly responsive, so we're continuing on. At any time we deem an application become unresponsive, there'll be a formal notice given out that you're risking being considered unresponsive, and your application will be set aside, and someone will move into your spot. So, we haven't we haven't seen that yet. We've gotten some good responses from the people who are in need of, tweaking, supplying little things that we want more information on. But when we get to that point where we don't have a response, we'll issue a formal letter to give notice that we'll deem your application without response, and you're risking being set aside. So
Okay.
that's kind of where we're at.
I got one more
Okay.
question.
Commissioner Dan?
Have you heard anything from Laura on the distance between facilities that's
No, I have
supposed to be
not. I don't-
implemented in June?
There's, the only thing that we have are the 20 or so temporary emergency regulations. I haven't seen anything new.
Is there a specific that's going to be,
No.
there's not, to
Nothing.
your knowledge right now?
Other than the, what the original act says, and our ordinance, but there's no,
Okay, well, I mean, it came up, so that's why I'm asking, because I haven't seen it specifically either from Laura, and I hadn't heard anything from down here yet. And I mean, that would be something that we would really definitely want the planning commission to know in that state, so it doesn't get to here. Because, I don't mind being a heel, but I don't want to be that big a heel.
Okay. Commissioner Moore?
Okay, when we first were having the workshop with the Planning Commission and we came up with the number of growers, the number of different classes and that, and we just kind of decided to try 5. At some point, what would trigger us to reconsider that, to change that number? And is that changeable at this point or later?
well, the ordinance says, a year, but I don't think there's anything it says at least every year after adoption of this ordinance, so it could be more frequent. I think that there's gonna need to be some amendments and some changes to this, because as we handle this on a practical level, we're seeing a lot of things that could be done better, and differently. Again, the calculation of the maximum number, I don't know where that number came from. But again, the ordinance says a maximum of each type. Doesn't mean that you have to use that. If the city decides to fill all 5 in the first year of each facility, and it feels it has room to grow, then that can be considered. There's no formula that's set. It's just something that for the city commission to make a decision on.
I believe at the meeting from a practical standpoint, we really had no idea when those 5, that was just kind of a ballpark estimate with the idea we would be revisiting very quickly and very soon, because we're okay with this, but people need to be aware that we're not going to put up with baloney from us.
Right. I think there are right now, there's a lot of confusion as
Right.
to our ordinance and how the application process
Right.
is being applied. And
Right.
that's what we need to make sure that whatever we do,
Right.
the city does, is consistent.
Okay. Commissioner Turney?
Thanks, Your Honor. A little earlier, the council answered my question about the who goes first or to get their license or permit, and I did see in that lower write-up that it would be more beneficial for the people who are putting in an application if they can get their work completed with the municipality first. That would only move them on to the licensing, and then the state, from what I understand, will take them first because they got all their paperwork done. Let's see, my train of thought here. So I did see that. And my other thing is that the way I feel is, and the mayor is correct, we didn't know exactly how many we should go for. And what I'm looking at is let's see how all this pans out. Let's not jump the gun and try to put more into something that nobody's even started building yet.
There's not going to be any more.
So My thing is, we can come back at this after the 1 year, whichever the ordinance was set up. That is just my thoughts.
Okay. Commissioner Moore?
So my understanding also is we have not received any applications from anyone pursuing a secure transporter.
That's correct. No
Okay,
lab,
so-
no lab inquiries, no transporter inquiries. We did, well, let me say, we've received a phone call, but that's as far as it went.
Right.
So no one appeared or follow up on that interest, so.
Well, my question is, because I'm still learning about all this like everyone else, so if there is a secure transporter in the area, like Niles or someplace else, they would be allowed to move merchandise from our facilities? We would not, I mean, all these people would not be isolated islands that would not be able to do anything with their product because we
Right.
don't have a secure transporter, correct?
My understanding, they've addressed that at the state level on being able to maneuver in and out of municipalities that may not have opted in. It's,
So
they'll
we
be
have
able
no
to-
control over those people that might be operating in our city, but not actually having a license in the
Yes.
city?
Yeah, the state opened that up, knowing that the transporter is going to have accessibility to public roadways, highways, to get access to the facilities and that. So we'd love for a transporter to come in and be stationed here, but if they're not, they still have access to service the statute that the growers need, processors will need. Again, that how all that's going to work is still, very foggy to me. I don't know if Rick's familiar with how the transporters are going to be. I mean, the audience probably has no more knowledge about that than I do right now, but.
Yep. Dale?
On transporting, I think Ed Gravelin, he's basically setting up, from what he told me, he's setting up his business he wants that area, because it's accessible to semi-trucks, and he wants to transport his own, products over the state. That's what he was telling me, so I
Yeah.
don't know.
I don't
Maybe
know.
I'm
That's-
wrong.
We
that's-
haven't seen applications. No.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't-
Right.
No permit.
Permitted.
I could be wrong, so
Yeah.
his idea was he wanted this Buchanan to be the central hub for the products to go out.
And I'll go back. Gladys has been taking some notes of, as we maneuver through our ordinance, of future amendments and some kind of internal housekeeping items we need to address, become overly cumbersome, but really doesn't affect the intent of the ordinance. But we are making notes for future discussion on some amendments that we'll need to do. I believe Niles has already made an amendment to their ordinance they passed, so.
Yes, they have.
Yeah, so we have the same situation, and I think Rick's got some notes here as well that we need to look at in the future.
Okay, Commissioner Moore?
And that kind of brings me to another question. One of my concerns too is, I know we were directed by the state to not charge any more than $5,000, up to $5,000 for our licensing or permitting. But also that at some point in time, I don't think it was really clearly stated, at some point in time, we would have to justify what ultimate amount we are going to do in subsequent years. So is there someone on the staff that is tasked to add all of these things, including tonight, our legal counsel, all of our time here, your time, Gladys's time,
There's-
everything should be tallied towards justifying our
Yeah, I would.
need for next
My
year's.
response to that is, yeah, the journey has been long, it's been cumbersome, extremely time-consuming, full of emotion that, I don't know if you can put a dollar amount on that, but it's been a real struggle. So can we justify the $5,000 per permit? Yes, we can. Rick doesn't work chief, nor does Randy, although I would wish you'd work a little cheaper, but, that's yeah.
Hey, we have to throw that out there. The
I had to throw that out
taxpayers
there.
are listening.
Yeah, but again, we've made use of a part-time officer to do the legwork, to help us get this process through. Each of our department heads are investing time. Yeah,
And they're monitoring,
Oh, yeah.
they're
Actually,
collecting
yep.
it and tabulating
Yeah.
this for.
That's a task Julie is taking
Okay.
on.
All right, good.
Again, we get the council's bills, they're itemized, and that is being looked at, tallied. Our expenses with our officer, we have background costs when we pull records now, so that's all being accounted for. And so, yes, your time, our conversations about this, and Deb has been basically 14 hours a day working on a variety of different things. She's very detailed in her approach to things, reading statutes, understanding, and again, very overwhelming. And there isn't an instruction manual to follow. We're actually writing the manual as we go along. Again, have we misstepped? Yeah, may have misstepped here and there. I think everybody involved in this across the state has found things they'd rather do better than they did, and we're not any different than that. But I think we got a handle on things. We have some verbiage in our ordinance. I think Rick will talk about when we get up to the next level here that requires you, and maybe we'll bring it up now, requires each of you to have a copy of each of the applications. So
And this is just one.
this is just one.
One application.
Yeah, there's one application.
Why
So-
would we go through that, though? I
Well,
mean,
there-
why would
It's our
we?
job.
Yeah.
No, just don't do that. Why would we, I'm sorry, Brenda, but why would you want to print a copy for each one of us? I
Well,
mean,
that's
really,
because
honestly.
Oh, Rick, maybe.
Would it be
Because the
possible?
ordinance says so.
Okay. Well, I think, first of all, that's what the ordinance requires. And I think more importantly, though, so I'll state the process. The application is submitted to the city clerk. The city clerk then makes sure that the application has all the necessary parts. Then the city clerk, once she determines that all the parts are there, go out to the department heads, fire department, police, treasurer, building department, and my office. And there were and then once the department heads report back on their and see, this is where we're gonna have to come up with the process, and I was talking with Gladys and Bill about this a couple of weeks ago. We need to ensure that the right department heads are looking at the right sections of the application. It doesn't do me any good to look at a sanitation plan, a security plan. I wouldn't know a good security plan or a sanitation plan, disposal plan, if it came up and kicked me. Security plans, crisis plans needs to go to the
Right.
correct departments, the police department, fire department. Building inspector maybe needs to look at the disposal plan, other various aspects. I can take a look, but we're also required to submit a business plan and and I think those are the things that the city commission needs to take a look at. The business plan. They need to make sure that when they look at the reports from the department heads, that everything is okay. If there's some criminal background that is questionable or that you think is problematic and doesn't maybe make a good fit to the city, if you've got 5 applications and you don't need to provide 5 permits, maybe the commission makes a vote and decides that one of those applications is not.
Well, that's my whole point. That's where government gets bogged down all the time.
Okay.
You make all these copies. Now, wait a minute. We make all these copies, and then we have 5 copies of all this, and we could call the heads of these different departments.
Okay, I'm going to cut you off a second. We need to do our due diligence because there's a large contingency of people in Buchanan that were against this. And if we're not doing our homework, this is our job, our responsibility to look. If you want to borrow my copy so you don't have to have your own copy, but I'm not comfortable saying yes to people I don't know setting up shop with something. I just think that's part of our deal right here.
How did it get twisted around to that, though?
Your Honor?
How did my words get twisted around to that, not doing my due diligence? If
Well,
the
you have
company-
you have to see and you have to read and you have to look at things. That's the
But any
point.
private company does it on a step-by-step basis. That's why private companies make money and government don't.
Well,
So
but
if you had the
you're-
copies down
You're
here,
the ones who are making the vote, and the voters look to you to make sure that you know what you're voting on. And the reports from the department heads, they just make sure, and again, the report says that they make sure they do what they're supposed to do and make sure that everything is complete and satisfactory. But ultimately, the commission makes the vote.
Okay, Commissioner Attorney?
where is it at in the ordinance that says that we have to have a copy?
Hang on a second, Commissioner Attorney?
If I may, Your
Yes.
Honor, thank you for the floor. Let me remind everybody who I am. I worked for credit and collection for a major gas utility in Chicago. I would love to see those papers because I would dissect them. Because I've seen a lot. I've been to court, took depositions, and seen a lot of people. So I would like to see what's in there. I've seen fraud. I've seen lies. When you deal with credit and collection, the first thing people do is lie. So I'd like to look at it. So yes, I would love to see those papers just to make sure that we have the right papers that we need, because maybe we might need something else to add to it so we can check.
And Commissioner Viganski asked me, where in the ordinance does it say? Well, and I will say Section 6, permit application evaluation, Section A, it says the city commission shall assess all applications referred to it. So I'm not sure how you're going to get a copy, whether the copy is provided to you and you can come in here.
Well, I mean, that's my whole point.
But
I
I
mean,
will
when you
say-
start printing these books, and handing out these books,
But on
and
a-
everybody knows it goes to college, you get ripped off on the books nonstop.
But on a
Why do you have to have a dozen copies?
Well, on a practical level, if Planning Commission in Bertrand Township, if I had to come in and look at all applications for special land use permits, I would never be able to do it because my job doesn't allow me to come down in the middle of the day and so I might as well not even be a planning commissioner. The whole idea is that I'm provided a copy, whether it be I come down and pick one up and take one. I mean, they're all confidential. They're all exempt from FOIA. So just because the commissioner has them doesn't mean they become all of a sudden subject to the Freedom of Information Act. So you got to make sure you turn it back in and everything is kept private because that's what the statute requires. And that's one of the things that, and I thought coming into tonight that each one of you had an application. When Commissioner Moore asked me a question about an email that I sent earlier today, I was, well, don't you have the application? And she said, well, no. I'm like, oh, and that was the misunderstanding that I thought everyone was getting a copy of the application. And because to me, once with the reports that you have from the department heads and the applications, that's how you make your evaluation. And however you, as a commission or a city, choose to get copies of those applications, that's to be determined.
Okay. I'd like to give Carla, do you have anything that you would like to? Okay. Anyone else?
Not at this time.
Okay. Bill?
And I guess I'll further explain, we've got a book this size times 3 for the Redbud Roots group tonight. Very thorough, did a great job. So I looked at it as, okay, we got to break this down, department heads, take your section of this and provide your response, your follow-up reports, so the commission can review those. Now, with the information Rick's provided to us, we'll have to figure out a way to produce all these and get them in your hands for your review.
And I will say that, and most planning commissions, and I think even Buchanan's planning commission, when an applicant, but it says that in zoning ordinance, and we may have to change this, the applicant provides, the number of copies per planning commissioner, and we may have to amend the ordinance to state that an applicant has to provide, 5 plus a number for each department head.
There you go.
And, to be honest, most of the applications for dispensaries or provisioning centers that I've seen aren't nearly as inclusive as Red Roots. So they all won't be so cumbersome to do, but I think that's certainly the city's right to put it on.
Do we do this for a liquor license or anything else? Or do we do this for a liquor license even?
I don't even know if the city even requires local.
We do this
No,
for
we
a
don't.
liquor license. That's the only other business we do it for though, right?
Yeah,
when
but that's,
Well, I know, but I still want to make the point. It's, because as a human being, as a taxpayer, and as an investor and an entrepreneur, you're handing out that information, which I could come down here, at my time, which I feel we should, and go in that room and sit and look. That's part of the job.
Citizen and a commissioner, though. I mean,
What's the difference?
you
We got elected. We're still the same people, no matter what anybody tries to make us out to be. And the thing about it is who's going to actually sit and go through that book? I mean, who's going to actually sit and go through that whole book in one setting? Yeah, whatever. Gladys, you're getting paid to do it.
I'm not the one making the vote. Gladys isn't making the vote.
I'm making my vote based on what the people that are getting paid to do what they're supposed to be doing. That's where the difference is between public and private frickin' enterprise. That's exactly how decisions are made in private enterprise.
Okay, Commissioner Turney?
I just want to make a comment on Rick's idea there. I think that's a very good idea. That's something for the future. Like Bill has been saying, we're writing the manual. It's like putting a computer program together and then how tedious it can be. That's something for the next person who comes in and says, okay, I want an application. All right, you got to put 5 applications in there and that's a cost. If you want to come here, that's just the cost. That's taking the cost away from the city. I think that's something to look at down the road.
Yes, Commissioner Law?
Well, I don't think making that request has to be in the ordinance. I think we should just automatically ask that everybody who needs to review it has the sufficient information and copies made so they can review it. So if we need 10 copies, whatever we need, that should be part of that request of the materials from these applicants. So, and I agree that I don't think that necessarily should fall on the taxpayers.
well, we asked for 7 copies now, and, so.
Weren't aware of the 5 extra that we needed, so I guess we're gonna have to bite the bullet and provide those, if that's what the commission chooses. We need a policy, and that's what Manager Marks is saying, that we're developing one as we go.
Exactly.
Yes, and we understand that.
Right.
But we also need input from the elected officials.
Right.
Well, there's been a good conversation and enlightening with, what we've heard tonight, and again, with Rick weighing in on it. So we have a little more, we have another chapter to add to our playbook, so.
All right, but we don't need to make any other decisions on item A of 7.
No,
We can just move on.
Again, this is the conversation I was hoping to have to help draw the route we've got to follow. So,
Do we have another copy of that application, Gladys, so that we can sign it out, so Dale can take it and then Pat can take it, and then
Not at this
Brenda.
point. We
Not
don't
at this
have-
point. Well, I respectfully decline a copy of it. I'll read somebody's.
All right, moving on to item number 8, new business. We're at letter A. Consider the annual funding application for Dial-A-Ride, and we're going to hear from Kim O'Haver again.
It's Bill's exercise program.
Bill needs a remote.
He's gotta get his steps in. Should be a happy medium.
That's complicated business, and I hope that this will be a little less complicated for you all. This is something that I do every year in January. I come before you with all of this paper. I will start out with the budget. I provided you with a comparative budget, comparing this fiscal year's budget with fiscal year 2019, which is the period that the application is for. As far as revenues go, there is very little difference. We are not dealing with the capital grant in 2019 because we already applied for that in fiscal year 2018. On the expense side, our expenses are a little bit higher, and you'll notice that the presentation is different. When we are hired to operate a public transit system, it will be at X number of dollars per vehicle hour. MDOT used to make us break that all down and say, okay, well, how much of that is salaries, how much is health insurance, how much is parts? They finally decided that, I think what they decided is that nobody looks at that information up at MDOT, and so why are we making these people break that all down? So we are now putting our estimate, purchase transportation services, that is 3,750 vehicle hours at our hourly rate. We don't have to break that down anymore. And I will tell you that in our hourly rate, we try to keep it as low as humanly possible. But we do factor in raises for our people. We do factor in some bonuses for our people, not big ones, but some. We figure that health insurance is not one of those things that ever goes down. Workers' comp insurance, we also have to allow for. You never know what that's going to do, but we estimate high on that. And really, in every expense area, I aim high. One reason is that I don't want to get caught like a deer in the headlights. And another reason is that if you don't ask MDOT for it, you will not get it. So for that reason, I forecast a small shortfall of about $3,300. That is if we run full tilt, do all 3,750 vehicle hours at the highest possible rates. I don't think that's going to happen. We haven't had that happen in the past. And also, if it does happen, I would point out that in the last fiscal year, we took in $11,000 from the sale of our old buses. And so we've been able to add a good cushion to the fund balance every year, and that really builds it up. So that is the budget. The rest of these forms are required forms that MDOT has us fill out every year. They want to know what other surface transportation providers we have in our area, and are they unionized or not? They are not. The cab services come and go. They come and go rather rapidly, and so that list always changes from year to year. ADA complaints, we have had none. Contract clauses, that's the stack of paper about this big that is attached whenever we sign a contract with MDOT or whenever you sign that contract. And basically, if it's a law, yes, we will abide by that law because we will not get our funding if we don't. The coordination plan talks about how we coordinate information and transportation with the other transit providers in Berrien County. We share borders with Niles Dial-A-Ride and with the county system. We invite each other to each other's meetings. Our local advisory council had representatives from all the other transit systems. We have a universal reduced fare card in Cass, Buchanan, and Berrien counties. So let's say a Buchanan resident is eligible for a reduced fare. They're a senior, and they want to go somewhere in Van Buren County. They can show their reduced fare card, and the transit system in Van Buren County will automatically give them their reduced fare. It may not be the same fare, but they will get the reduced fare. We honor everyone else's reduced fare card. And MDOT is piloting that now statewide. And so we said, yes, we'll participate in that because we already have it going here in Southwest Michigan, so we're ahead of the curve. And we're going to be taking part in that for a year. And not every transit system in the state is taking part, so I think that's a feather in our cap too. And we will find out early next year whether MDOT is going to make it a statewide thing or not. We'll be putting a little sticker on all of our reduced fare cards so that if someone wants to go to like Grand Rapids will also honor that reduced fare card. So I think it's kind of neat to show how we are cooperating with one another and trying to work together for the benefit of our riders. Cool. We get together for annual training day. Berrien County Transit System, Buchanan Dial-A-Ride, Cass County Public Transit, and Dowagiac Dial-A-Ride. All the employees get together and we all train together. We set aside a day every year out of our schedule and go through all different kinds of training, the things we need to know. CPR training, how to put out a fire, how to evacuate a bus, recipient rights, a lot of issues like that, and we do that jointly. We talk a little bit about the authority, which is still in the works, and the countywide service plan, which is still in the works. We hope to hear about that soon. And basically, we will continue to cooperate with all the rest of the transit systems, work together, because our mission is to get people from point A to point B. That's what we do. It's not always easy in Berrien County with 4 transit systems, but we do our best and we work together, and it certainly helps that we work with Berrien Bus to the extent that we do. That makes a big difference for us. We have FTA certifications and assurances, and again, we say if it applies to us, we will obey the law and we'll obey the regulations. State certifications and assurances has to do with our lifts on our buses. All of our buses are lift equipped. We do cycle them regularly to make sure they're working. We also have proof of insurance. We have it on file, and we have the insurance certificate on every driver's clipboard in each bus so that we have that readily at hand. Title VI information. We have had no complaints regarding Title VI. We haven't had any audits having to do with Title VI. And Title VI is non-discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin. We train our employees every year about those requirements. We give them a little reminder in their pay slip in December just to keep them reminded of their obligations under Title VI. Our vehicle accessibility plan update. We have 3 buses. They're all lift equipped. We do not plan to expand the fleet. We do not plan to shrink the fleet. We have not made any changes to our fare structure, our service area. The rest of that form includes a list of the members of our local advisory council. And they are identified as to whether or not they're a senior, if they have a disability, or if they represent those groups, if they're riders, If they have been appointed by the Area Agency on Aging, we have one member who has. So we tell MDOT who all of these people are, and we submit that every year as well. We also have the resolution of intent, which, if you approve this application, will be signed by Chief Marks, and that will accompany our application to MDOT. I'm ready for your questions.
Okay. Right. Can we have a motion?
I'll make the motion because I shut her down the first year I was up here.
Well, thank you.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, we need a roll call, please.
Moore,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes?
Cole. Yes. Bianski,
Yes.
Tarney,
Yes.
unanimous, Your Honor.
And thank you again for coming and giving us such a comprehensive report. We appreciate that.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
I've only got one quick question for you.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Chamber, have they been in touch with you? Was Randy your,
Randy was our guy, and since he resigned, I sent an email to the chamber. I didn't hear back from them before our local advisory council meeting, but I did go to their perk breakfast last Friday.
okay,
And I met Carol
okay.
and told her who I was with, and we had a nice visit. And so I emailed her once again, and I also sent her a copy of the accessibility plan so that she knew who was on the local advisory council. I haven't heard back yet, but if I don't hear back soon, I will follow up again and see if we can't get that vacancy filled.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. All right, and now we're on to item B under new business. Consider approving local medical marijuana Class C growing permits for 215, 208, and 448 Post Road to Redbud Roots LLC.
Mayor and Commissioners, again, with the revelation about the application, we are neglectful in providing you a copy of that, each individual application, so you can review it and make your decision. That is something that we'll have to accomplish, but I would like to move forward. We have Dave Murray here in his group. I'd like to take this opportunity to have him do an introduction just to start the conversation, maybe talk about their ideas, intent to move forward with the 3 addresses. As I think Rick has identified, their applications probably set the standard for applications for us. I mean, it did very, very comprehensive, very complete. Although a few questions did come up, and then we've been communicating back and forth with them on those, so we hope to get those answered in the short term and get those presented to you to further complete the application process review. Dave, would you be able to?
So, Bill, has this already been pretty much answered?
Well, no, we haven't. We posed the questions to them. We haven't gotten the answers yet. And Dave, I don't know if you'd mind raising that up a little bit, so.
Oh, yeah. Bill's done his
Yeah,
exercise.
twist it
Yep.
and
We still need the rest.
put you to work here, so.
Thank you for coming this evening.
Okay, there you go.
Hi, folks. My name's Dave Murray. I'm the operations manager at Redbud Roots. First off, I wanted to thank Buchanan. You guys have been great to us. We've been coming through zoning and special use permits. We've been working with Gladys as well as Deborah Patzer. We've worked with several different parts of the city. We brought in some people from Colorado, California, Chicago, and New York to sit down and meet with Mr. Marks, different parts of the city, whether it was water, sanitation, electrical. We wanted to make sure that we were meeting all needs for Buchanan as well as not interrupting anything. First and foremost, we want to be welcome to the city. We don't want to be somebody that is interrupting anything in any way. All we look to do is bring a promise of a new future here to Buchanan. When we first came here, we were really excited. We have a real estate venture capital fund, and that was the real reason why we originally started here. We were looking at property, and another part of our venture capital fund is we've done some medical marijuana facilities out west. And when this conversation came up as topic, it kind of became a beautiful fit because I see Buchanan as a beautiful town. And I think with some things that we feel we can bring to the table, we look forward to working with you guys. That said, Redbud Roots, first and foremost, is 100% about medical marijuana. I'll introduce to you in a minute our processor. He has some things that I'd like for him to point out about the medical side of it. I'm sure you also know Mr. Haas, who's been up here several times with you guys over the last like 9 to 10 months. I would like to give you a quick overview as what we're looking to do in terms of a timeline. So we have 3 buildings. Our first building is 448 Post Road, which we currently are leased under, and we are in the process of working with several construction firms to get final quotes in to start the interior build-out. It's owned by CNS Machines, which has moved out. They're now in Niles, but we do have a signed lease, and we're all prepared there. The second building that we're going to be in is 215 Post Road. It's also owned and operated by CS Machines. They're in the process of moving that facility out. They need to put a new roof on sometime in April, depending on the weather. Assuming that all goes well weather-wise, we look to be in there May 1st to be doing the same thing. We're going to go in with the construction crews, get some minor modifications done, planned, zoned, built out, permitted obviously, and then start that operation. The third operation is going to be at 208 Post. We have a purchase agreement with that with Mr. Klink, and that at this time we're debating on back and forth, but it looks like it's most likely going to be a tear down with a 22,000 square foot new facility coming into that space. So our timeline kind of looks as we're looking to do it for multiple reasons. Obviously, it kind of worked out that way with CNS, but we also are understanding that Michigan might be the #2 medical marijuana market in the entire country. That said, we don't know if that's actually accurate. So instead of building out 3 major facilities and going all in and then finding out that, you know, the market isn't there, we look to expand out slowly, efficiently, make sure that we're running in a, you know, nice, well manner, not only for ourselves financially, but also for you guys as a community. Make sure we're putting out the right product, the product that the patients need, and go from there. At this time, I'd like to introduce Hunter. He's our processor.
First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for your time and letting us have the chance to kind of introduce ourselves and kind of fill in what we're all about and why we think it's important to be here. So for me personally, I come into medical cannabis as a patient. I'd never used marijuana in any form before becoming a registered patient. And the reasons I did so were a little bit more extreme and personal than most. I was diagnosed with a condition called cyclic vomiting syndrome. Instead of having a normal migraine, I would go into several week-long cycles where I would be hospitalized for nausea and vomiting. I lost almost 50 pounds and was down to 130 pounds over the course of a year. And had spent 6 months without interruption in the emergency room at my local hospital. It was very much a life-threatening case, and I was told by doctors my only option was to begin taking prescription opiates daily in order to maintain and prevent those episodes. My parents and myself made the decision that that was not an acceptable quality of life. So we turned to medical cannabis as my only true alternative after having tried dozens of other medications. This isn't something that is to be used lightly. It's something that people desperately need and something that has changed my life. I've now gone almost 2 years, and while this is an incurable condition, for me to be standing up here in front of you today is truly a blessing for both myself and my family, and I owe it all to the medical cannabis market. I've taken that relief that it's given me and have been driven to provide that to even just one other family and to give that same hope back to families and parents who are in awful situations without any real alternatives. So Redbud Roots is really the best example of that I've ever seen. Truly, everything we do is directed towards the patients. It's what's going to give them the best, most effective medicine. And you can count on us being there to provide that to your communities and beyond, because it's why we're here. It's the reason this program exists, and we want to take that to Buchanan and beyond, as I said, because it's the right thing to do, and it's why this program exists. So we thank you for letting us be here, and the rest of the patients in the state, truly thank you. You guys are leaders in this industry, and we look forward to working with you in the future. So, Thank you.
One other thing I'd like to kind of close with, we're also working with other companies, some nonprofits we're trying to work with, such as Realm of Caring, Johns Hopkins, Northwestern University, Fluence Bioengineering. These are companies that are still trying to research what this plant can actually do on a medicinal side. The country of Israel is probably the farthest advanced in terms of actually finding out what this plant can do, and they've actually found that certain CBD levels in the plant can actually cause cancer patients to go into remission completely. It's actually causing the cancer cells to, for lack of a better term, commit suicide because of what the CBD levels are doing to that. And it's, I really think that we're just on the tipping point of what we find out what this plant can do, and with our facilities and with our research programs, people like Mr. Haas and Mr. Mishler, we look forward to really expanding that. Part of the reason why we came up with our name, we all kind of individually fell in love with Buchanan, Redbud Tree. We want this to be a national footprint, but that said, we're looking to make Buchanan our home. Redbud Roots is exactly what it is in the name, is that we're trying to make our headquarters here. We want to do something not only in the southwest corner of Michigan, something not just in the state of Michigan, but something eventually nationwide. I have many personal stories I could bore you with. My son's a special needs. Two of my best friends died of opiate addiction, so I have a personal reason why I'm involved in this. But that said, you know, we're trying to work with you guys. I hope we've done our best with Gladys. She's come back to us a couple times with a couple needs that we're missing. We did get something today, some minor things that we did fulfill because it came to our attention actually on the road. So we made a couple quick phone calls and we got all that necessary paperwork in as best we can. And I completely understand that this is, we're kind of learning as we go. We're learning on our side. Our lawyer, who's been involved in this for over 5 years, he's, you know, still learning on the Michigan side. I know the state's still learning. Obviously, the town of Buchanan's learning. So we're trying to do everything we can to make you guys feel as comfortable with us as we are with you. So that said, I guess I'll open it up to any questions you guys may have.
So, have you also submitted your application to the state at the same time, or are you waiting for the permitting here? How is your process going?
Yes, thank you for asking. We are actually waiting for a home in terms of a municipality before we go to the state. It is my belief, and I agree with the wording. There's no, you know, it's like the chicken or the egg, but I believe that if you go to the state but you don't have a home yet, to me it doesn't make sense. I wanted to go somewhere first with the municipality. I don't necessarily think that the license from the state is worth anything if you don't have a license from a city. Now again, it could be read either way, but it's my interpretation that you need city approval first.
There's actually, there's two ways of going about it. So, you're right. The first path that the state wanted was get the city to sign on, then go to the state. What was happening is that, as you see, not every city has opted in or allowed for it. So what the state did is bifurcated their process, or cut it in two and said, okay, if your city hasn't opted in, or you're not quite ready, you can do what's called the pre-qualification. So what that is you can submit your background information, who's involved, what the corporate structure look like, anything that's not related to the plant touching entity itself, you can submit. And if the state gives you pre-qualification, you take that back, you find your city that has opted in, you go to them. It's like being pre-qualified for a mortgage, right? You look a little bit stronger as a candidate. For us, it was different here in the city of Buchanan because you have special use permits, you have different hoops you have to jump through first. So we kind of knew where we stood in terms of the rest of the competition. So for us, being so close to December 15th, it just made sense to say, we're close, we're almost there, let's see how we can get this done, and then we'll move on to the state from there.
Thank you.
Well, not everybody's jumping through hoops to go to the state anyhow.
No, not every municipality has. You know, we've gone through the zoning board, we've gotten city special use approval, we got site approval. That is not with every municipality. Some of them just, you know, sign and go straight to the state. You guys have made sure that we've done our due diligence all along the way, and we hope that we've met that.
I've only got one question, Your Honor. Actually, it's more of a trivia question. Have you heard GW Pharmaceuticals have applied for a marijuana permit with the FDA for their epilepsy drug? Have you heard that?
Here's what I know, and this is interesting, is that I haven't heard GW, but I know that the United States government actually holds some of the patents to CBD, which is funny because the government's saying it's illegal, but then they also go out and say, well, we'd like the patent.
Well, GW did apply.
And so that very well could be the case. I know a lot of those bigger companies are running much more headache than we do, obviously.
Well, I don't know if the drug has been manufactured in Israel. They're just filing to bring it into the U.S.
Yeah.
It really didn't go into that much detail.
Right.
But I mean, it's supposed to go in front of the FDA in June.
It
So
is.
that'll help a lot.
And you're seeing a big, listen, 88% of Americans are in favor of medical marijuana. When you go to the recreational side, you're, 55, 56. So more than a majority, but not as big as medical. And even if you look at a state like Florida, right, look at the last election, Trump and Clinton, right, polar opposites. But then as a state, the whole, 72% of Americans voted, or in Florida voted for medical marijuana. So it crosses both lines, and just about everybody from both parties is saying, we agree, we like it, but there's a stigma, there's a history here, people are hesitant, and appropriately so, like Hunter's indicated, it's powerful medication, and we're just understanding it. But the upside and the potential that it could have for individuals with different ailments is amazing. And we're seeing it firsthand, and we're hearing about it, and I've heard stories. I know each of everybody here is affected one way or the other with someone that has benefited from it, and so that's why I really like this group and what they've done so far.
Carla?
Yeah, seeing as you like us so well and you want to get started here, are you going to participate into our community and help us with different things along the way? It's nice that you're here, it's nice that you like us, you like our city. I realize you plan on making money. I've also heard scuttlebutt that up farther north, probably Detroit area, I'm hearing that there's someone out there who is going to be building a humongous outfit, huge, and they figure on putting everybody else out of business. Have you guys thought about that? Is that going to hurt you?
Well, I'll start with the first part. We actually were a platinum sponsor for the Thrill on the Hill, which was the first thing that we started working with the city. Unfortunately, that was canceled, but we told the city to keep the donation and put it towards the summer one, and we also are in talks with picking up the band as well. That was a conversation I had with the treasurer. But so yes, to answer your question, we are finding ways that we sat down with Mr. Marks to find some other opportunities beside that to get involved. And then to answer your second question, I think there will definitely down the road be a lot of Walmarts of the industry, but that's not what we're looking to do here. We are looking to be a national footprint, but we're looking to be something that is quality, and it's something that's going to be driven based on patients. And that's where the realm of caring comes in, because this is a nonprofit company out of Colorado, and something that they are offering to work with us on is a patient portal. So it gives us exactly what the patients are needing. Now, us as growers, we have to have a little bit of leeway with what the needs are. We can't just facilitate that right away. If we need a certain strain that has a higher CBD level and a lower THC level to help with epilepsy or anti-anxiety, there's post-traumatic stress disorder. There's even some Alzheimer's studies that are out there that are saying that it's slowing, even stopping the signs of Alzheimer's. I have a mother with Alzheimer's early onset, so it's another thing that's near and dear to me. So we're really focusing more on working with those kind of people. I'll let those Targets and Walmarts, they can fight it out and they can have that market share, because that's not the market share we're going for. We're going for a market share here that's going to be customer driven, and the customer is the patient. So.
And just real quick to echo on his comments, the demand in Michigan is so high at even that large-scale facility, that, I know exactly which one you're talking about, won't come close to meeting what the state is demanding.
Okay.
As you've indicated, there's 20 complete applications that have been submitted to the state, right? But the state, based on the number of cardholders, is projecting around 600,000 pounds is needed. That's just, we have a high demand in Michigan. Even if all those facilities were up and running, even if we were up and running, there's still not enough for the state. So the time in our minds is important, but not only for us as a business in the way that we have deadlines to meet, investors to work with. So it is crucial that we move as quickly as we can. But the old system that Michigan currently operates under, the MMA, is going offline. So this new system has to pick up. And are these facilities going to be ready in time to produce enough for this large demand that we have in the state? That bigger problems than we have here today, nothing we can dictate, but, you know, that's part of our concern and just the outlook in the state as well. So.
The other concern, I guess, you're talking about, you're gearing towards the patient. My concern is we have a lot of people who, and I believe in what you guys are doing, okay?
Thank you.
But we have a lot of people who probably don't have the money, and I've heard prices that were like out of this world, and how does that help our citizens who really need that, but they can't come up with that kind of money?
Well, that actually leads me to the Fluence Bioengineering conversation that we're having. So they're a lights company, but they're trying to find new ways to make it more affordable and stuff like that. And so one of their programs is something similar to that, where they're trying to kind of get people that are new patients or patients that are in need, and they sign them up, and we're actually trying to work with them on kind of a side project there. It's nothing that's inked, but we're trying to find ways to make those opportunities available.
And I've seen on Facebook that there's a lady out there that's selling it by bottle. I don't know how big the bottle is, but just under $70. I mean,
I can't comment on that per se, but some of those bottles are dropper bottles that could be 2 to 3 months worth of medication that person's using. One drop of concentrate daily, and that could be about, maybe 70 days worth. So maybe $70 a bottle is $1 a day, for them to slow some sort of chronic pain or, seizure activity or something like that. It's actually a great deal.
And a lot of it has to do, obviously, with the federal government and the way health insurance works. It's not covered by insurance.
Right,
So imagine if
right.
you had to go and pay full price for Vicodin, what would that cost you out the door? I guess it's probably much higher. But, part of the reason for Buchanan and what is, to hit to your point, is I think with our group, with the steps that we've taken with some of these larger institutions, position ourselves at the forefront of technology in relation to where we are in the state, is going to give us the ability to produce the best medicine at the cheapest cost. So I think you're going to be very hard pressed to find product cheaper than what's coming out of Buchanan, simply because of the way we've positioned ourselves with the city. So
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, go ahead, sorry.
Now I forget what I was going to say. It's gone.
Anyone else?
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you
Thanks.
for answering our questions.
I know there are a few things that we received word of today for our application. We have all of those for you today, so I didn't know.
Yeah,
To the extent that would help.
You may, your Honor?
Yes.
So you have all the questions answered that were informed of?
Yes, sir. So to my understanding, there was the insurance. We did have that bound, and we had that added to.
Lease?
We have that as well as the 215.
That's important,
from
the lease.
Mr. Sarator, who signed it personally. He and I have worked collaboratively to make sure that he's comfortable with the situation, we're comfortable with the situation. We provided those leases, as well as a CPA.
Right,
Our
CPA.
signed off on that. So, and we also had it notarized. It wasn't asked to be notarized, but I've had so many things need to be notarized. I said, figure safe than sorry. So, we're doing our best to jump through every hoop that we can. You know, it's, you know, I understand that you guys are trying to figure out what's most important. To us, you know, 448, which would be our first operational, that would be very important for us to at least get something as quick as possible so that we could go to the state.
So I kind of lost in all the talk. When is 448 going to open up or start to be worked on?
As soon as we get licenses. Well, it's
Okay.
gonna be worked on. We received 2 bids so far. We're waiting on the 3rd bid.
Okay.
So as soon as we, you know, come to terms with our construction,
Right.
I would assume that we would start the architectural process and stuff like that, Monday. That said, the longer we have to, you know, wait on licensing, the longer we're gonna be spending money and not have anything up and operational. So I have to, from a cash flow state, I have to figure that in as well.
Yes.
Bill, is Rick looking over the paperwork now that they
No,
brought in?
what I was gonna make the statement is, with this information that we've received tonight, which is response to some letters that both the fire chief and Rick compiled that we received this morning, we passed it on. Thank you for your quick response. We'll get that out, get it reviewed, and processed, and see if there's any more questions. And then also, we will be trying to be compliant with our ordinance and get you copies of this application as required. So we can satisfy the black and white print on our ordinance, analyze this, get all this information to you. So we will have a complete application that you will be able to consider and approve.
Okay. Pat?
Since you've already have several sets that are complete or you're gonna add to it, would you be able to make available to us if someone does have availability to come down and start reviewing it so we can kind of expedite it on behalf of these gentlemen?
Gladys has copies, and there'll be updated copies with this new information and available for your perusal.
At what point?
Well, Gladys will probably update it tomorrow.
Friday or Thursday or?
By midweek.
So basically, what we're telling these guys is they're gonna have to wait 2 more weeks.
Your Honor, Your Honor,
Let's.
No, I don't think so.
Let's see where we can.
Would we, if we get this done in the next few days and everything's looking okay, can we have a special meeting just to approve this?
I would be in favor of that.
Yeah,
I feel like we don't
They've
want to
jumped through the
delay
hoops to
them
do
and
this, so now we're just going in
Yes.
to get everything situated. So if we approve
Yeah, we
everything,
can-
why wait 2 weeks?
We can accomplish that with the proper advertising and that, we can do that.
Okay.
So I would consider we're pretty close. So,
Was this information that they submitted tonight for the fire department or for Attorney Rock's concerns also?
I believe they're both, the fire department's information about the storage tanks that you had for the CO, and then the ventilation, and then Attorney Rock's questions that he posed, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, so, the storage tanks for the COs and stuff like that, it was my understanding that he had already signed off on that, on the special use and the site approval. Because
Okay.
that was something that we addressed about 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
With the special use, and all of that will be in a fireproof locker that we had shown on the floor plan. Again, you know, it was to my understanding that that was signed off on. If we failed somewhere,
Nope. No, I don't think it's a failure, just getting, I think our next step is to get your representatives in the room with him, and so we have a confidence level that everybody's aware of, so, to move forward. So we'll try to get that accomplished in the next couple of days.
Okay,
and-
Commissioner Moore has one more question.
Maybe not just one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. At least
Are
one
you
more
trying to shut me
question.
down?
There you go.
No, I'm
Sorry.
just- No, that's okay. So as we are trying to review this material, and if there are questions that come up, can we use you as a conduit to these people?
Yes.
So we can get those answers, or Gladys or someone?
Gladys Actually, if you give us your questions, both of us.
Okay. You'll try to get answers
Yes.
so we can have that before any kind of
Yeah.
decision about a
Yeah, and
extra
We'll
meeting.
have to have a little comfort zone, because this is pretty complete material.
What I'm gonna do is,
You'll have a chance to peruse
Separate
through
it.
it, get a
Okay.
feeling for it before we have to call a special meeting.
I got one question. Why was this today? I mean, I understand all the excuses I'm hearing, but this was today. These red letters, you know, and if I was a businessman, I'd be pretty upset about this. And I mean, the thing about it is can't we, the written consent, the signed lease, most of these things, if he's got the paperwork right there, can't you look at him and say, yeah?
No, I don't think there's an adequate time to review it.
Okay, then I'll go back to my first question. Why didn't we know this before today? I mean, this was a noon today, and these are some pretty important questions, and I don't even want to know how much it's costing you a day, but, you know, I mean, and I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, and I know everybody is jumping through hoops or claiming they are, but on the other hand, as a salesman, somebody should have been pushing so that at least they had the weekend. You know, this should have been sent out Friday so that they would have had as much time as we do normally to read our notes, so that maybe they could have got to here 8 o'clock this morning and we could have give these guys their license tonight. Now, I mean, I'm not trying to point at anybody in particular, you know, but I mean, you know, to be quite honest, if I was a businessman doing this and I've done everything I've done, and this was at the 11th hour, this would, other than, I guess, what urinate me off would be the politically correct way to say it. So I just want to make that point. And I'm quite willing, if anybody wants to schedule a special meeting to welcome a new business owner that's actually buying 3 properties, or going to update 3 properties, I'm quite willing to come down here in 2 days or 3 days and get this done.
right,
We are as well.
yep,
We're not trying to discourage anyone. We are just trying to make sure that we're following our ordinance. This is all new to us, and we want to make sure that we are making decisions based with the interests of taxpayers in mind, many of whom were not in favor of this. So we're just trying to make sure, and I'm sure these gentlemen understand, even though they don't like it. Yes, thank you, Gladys.
May I?
Yes, go right
address
ahead.
that? During this process, we're just learning. Everybody's learning. Redbud Roots has been wonderful, and so we're learning. Mistakes, yes, we have made them. Getting the cart before the horse, yes, we have made them. We need direction from the commission. It was my assumption, and I believe it was Manager Marks' assumption, that the commission wanted a first-come, first-serve application process. So that's what we did. We learned, I've read that ordinance umpteen times, and I still couldn't tell you what all it says in it. Attorney Rock brought up today that there's, in the ordinance, it says the commission may approve. The maximum is 5. You don't have to approve that many, okay? We have 5 right now, so do we just stop accepting applications because we have reached that limit? Or do we have a waiting list? Or do we say, no more applications and tell applicant number 6, no, we've got the 5 that we want? How does the commission want to handle that? Do you want to vote tonight, or do you want to look at all the applications? I think Manager Marks and Attorney Rock have given you that option. And I'm just saying it because I'm involved in all of it and have tried to look at the open picture of all of it. So we rushed into, and some say we rushed into, some say we didn't rush into passing the ordinance. We added things for downtown. do you want half a dozen? Well, you can't have half a dozen, but do you want an influx of medical marijuana businesses downtown? Or do you want it spread around? These are just some of the things that have come up during the process that only you guys can answer.
Commissioner Moore?
Well, my feeling is that when all the departments, the legal review's completed, and the city is satisfied that that application is complete, that is when you drop it on our desk, and then we will proceed at that point. And remember, we must be consistent about that. So if someone is not getting, I mean, these guys are very quick about getting their, but what if they took 2 weeks to respond to an email or something, and someone else down below, or maybe they didn't respond, someone else took their spot and their application was completed, totally complete with all the reviews, then that's the number 2 one. So, you know, I mean, I think you have to take it in order of fully complete and ready for our adjudication. And that's the order and that they get voted on. So.
You're the first,
I think it's the, you know, the process, and that is what we agreed to, is the first come, first served. But that doesn't mean if you're not doing your part in getting the material in, we're not holding that number 1 spot for you. So whoever's going to be the most judicious will, and then as far as like numbers and places, I think that will come as a secondary argument when, say, the 3rd downtown or the 2nd downtown or whatever. Those are all going to be issues, whether or not that group is going to be, you know, that will be generated by that application. Whether, okay, as we've already said 1, do we want this second one? Or do we want a mini mall of marijuana? I mean, whatever, you know, whatever we decide, it's, we don't know yet. So we gotta, you know, take it, each application on its own, and then within the group of how it's going to affect the citizens.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing is that we stop accepting applications.
No,
if
I
we've
think you,
reached the-
I think you should continue to take applications, because you don't know that these top-tier people are even going to ultimately get through the state.
Yeah, maybe they're just
So-
reserving a spot and only have a casual
Your Honor.
interest. Yes, Commissioner Attorney.
Yeah, I agree with the philosophy, what Pat is saying. You still take the applications, but maybe you number them. Because if that number 1 person or a company falls under, it's piggy up, okay? And the thing of it is that they've gotten all their work in, which is impressive, but it takes a little time to get it checked out. That's why I'm saying if we have to have a special meeting for, you know, a couple days down the road, okay, that's completed. Gentlemen are done. They're done with us. That's next up.
Yes.
Your
Commissioner Moore?
But we must keep in mind that we have to treat everyone consistently.
Yes.
Correct.
So that is kind of the caution, I would say, about a special meeting. Someone else might require that, well, we sped things up for this group. How about us too? So
Well-
be aware of, you know. if
The only
there-
reason why we're speeding up, because they brought in this work that we were looking at that we just found out tonight, and they brought that work in. So that's the only reason why I'm doing that. If somebody comes up here and they're missing some paperwork and it takes 2 weeks and they want to, or say a week in between our meetings, no, we'll see you at the next meeting. I'm just trying, because they came in with all the documents.
Yes, and they're at a disadvantage because they're the first.
They're the
people,
first.
And they have to, you know, put up with our learning curve as well. Okay? Go ahead. Commissioner Dan.
Hang on to your chair, Pat, because I'm going to agree with you. The only thing is, you've had some issues with your dispensaries. I don't know if you can, like on a check, where you can write on a check, 30 days, null and void. So, I mean, if you ask for paperwork, can you have 7 days to respond to this, you know, because you're going to get some more applications. And I know we've had an episode, and we don't need episodes. I want to put that out there. We do not need episodes down here. Don't bite the hand that's feeding us, because that's basically what's going on down here with the permits. But I understand, and I'm not trying to be nasty about speeding this up, but everybody's under the assumption that we're gonna issue 5, and that was our mistake. So, I mean, I'm gonna be very adamant about the first 5, looking at them very hard, and for some reason, if we don't give one of them, it's gonna be because of something like this, you know, that they can't provide. Not because we got 3 downtown, you know, but only 5. I mean, we haven't got too many more empty buildings, and the state of Michigan is working on a distance thing. Whether they've passed it or not, they are working on a distance. And if, you know, we can't have 6 of them in a row, it's just stupid. I mean, that would be stupid for the business people too. So,
Oh, okay, yes.
I guess, do we need to schedule a special meeting for this, or how do you, I mean, I said 2 weeks too.
It's up to the commission.
Yes.
I think we need to put our stuff together and get it in your hands and feel there's a reasonable amount of time for you to review it, and then we'll discuss that special meeting opportunity. And I think if we find ourselves in a predicament in the future with other applicants, we can judge that on a pretty case-by-case basis. If we're right there and then we're 2 weeks away, I think I've heard we're fairly obliging to people that want to move forward. So I don't see calling a special meeting in certain circumstances as a problem for us to move forward. So that's what I'm seeing. Again, a lot of our discussions about dispensaries, these are grow operations, dispensaries.
Right.
We have 5. We've got 1 holding. We've got their application. We have not cashed their check. It's also in a holding pattern. So we got to work through the 5 to see how they perform, and then we'll be presenting those to you as we get them complete. You'll get applications for each of them to review, and so. You know,
Okay, can we tell these guys a week from tonight then?
I would like to, but things change so quickly with us. I don't want to do that. I want to get this out. You start looking through it, and I hear you're comfortable. We're comfortable. I'll call
So
a
then we
special
should just say next meeting. I mean,
No,
I
think
what
we-
would you guys rather have? I mean,
Well-
let's ask them. Would you rather have it?
Dan-
if
It's
you do it
not
in a
up
week?
to them, it's our decision.
Well, I know, but I mean, they're standing here.
Yeah.
So I mean, I said 2 weeks originally, and then everybody wanted to squawk at me about it.
Yeah, the plot process moves a lot slower than what you would like, okay? So, we will get this in your hand as we are supposed to through our ordinance. We're gonna give you a reasonable time to review it, and then we'll call a special meeting. Special meeting takes 18 hours of publishing, so it can happen fairly quickly, so. So that's where we're
Okay
at.
with that?
All right. All right, well then that's what we'll do.
We will work we'll work as speedily as we can to be compliant with our own ordinance.
I don't think
and-
it would take more than 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think, no, so, okay, that's,
And if there's anything that we can do, whether it's making copies of that or the binders, we're happy to.
we'll probably be reaching out
Thank
to
you.
so.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for your patience. We
Yes.
understand that this is probably not the outcome that you wanted.
bad.
But this is very new territory for us, and we do have to consider the wants and needs of the citizens, and we appreciate your patience as we weed through this. Yeah.
Sorry you're the guinea pig.
I worked in Lansing, Hazel Park, and then done applications in California, Illinois, Alaska. And I'm truly saying this, I mean, this has been the best experience I've had personally working with the Twin Cities. You guys done a great job.
Cool.
You're building the plane as you're flying it, so I get that analogy. But for whatever it's worth, from an outsider's perspective, looking at the city, you're all doing a great job, so.
Okay, cool.
Thank you for that.
And thank you for coming. All right, and with that, we're going to move on to public comments. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any non-agenda item. Come right on up.
Randall?
Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
This may be considered as an agenda item, but it actually is, I wonder if either our vendors or yourselves have heard anything more about the Jeff Sessions attempt to slow things down by leaning on his federal prosecutors, and whether we've heard anything from that would derail our efforts.
Right, I
to
can let
begin
Commissioner
restructuring.
Turney address that. He's in the know about that.
Yes, our grand poopa out there in Washington DC and his little fellow with the ears. Yeah, well, they're sort of letting it stay with the attorney generals of the state. And they're going to let the attorney generals try to make decisions. They're staying off on the side, okay? And then the attorney general for each state, if they have an issue, they can bring it up. I don't think the gentlemen in Washington, D.C. don't have a great idea of what's happening. I mean, they're just trying to put a fork in something that they don't like. But it's supposed to be up to each state's AG, okay? And that's as far as I know is what's going on.
I'll give you a Republican's point of view now. Mr. Sessions probably did us all a favor in legalizing marijuana because it was an executive order made by the former President Obama for the attorney generals to turn their back. There was no law to stop prohibition, irregardless of the state law or the national law. So by him saying that we're going to do what we need to do, he has slowed down recreational sale of marijuana, and he has made it so that people are more cautious about what they're doing, and he's trying to force the state in the Congress's hand. So you got two sides of it. Pick your side.
All right. Are you all set, Randall? We'll keep you posted about that. We're interested too.
Don't forget to vote in November, too.
Thank you. All right.
I had the right to.
Okay, anybody else? Public comments? Oops,
That's
you
okay,
okay?
you're good. Hello.
Yes.
I want to commend you, first of all, on what you're doing. It's quite an undertaking, it really is. And I'm proud of all of you for what you're doing. This is not the subject that I came up to speak about, though. And it's so small compared to what you're going through right now, but I have, as a business with the B&W, I'd like you to take a look at the parking lot behind the B&W. The storm sewers are sinking. They have been for 4 years. The parking lot has not been maintained. Somewhat cleaning up here and there, weed eating. The other thing I want you to think about is maybe if you could have someone look into putting in the ADA handicap parking space behind Red Bud Insurance, put a sign. Because with the snow covering the parking area, they can't see that it's handicapped. And I've had a lot of people that can't park there. So, and I don't blame someone for parking there when they can't see.
No.
Like I say, these are minor issues.
Okay.
The other issue you might want to put into your little roadmap for all this is, where are you going to put all these people that are parking downtown? Maybe, and I'm all for this, I really am all for what you're doing, but maybe you need to look into seeing if somehow direct our employees, me included, to park somewhere else, away from the city, walk to work. Take a block walk, okay?
Yes.
Just little things I want to bring up. I'm totally for all this. I'm totally for the growth of Buchanan.
We sell permits for the city parking lot in front of the.
I have two of them.
Okay, good.
Okay? And
Thanks,
I
Jeff.
understand that you purchase those, but you also have to have enough spots for what you
Right,
sell.
exactly.
So there's just little things, Also, I have another question about the parking downtown. We have signs up that say there's 3-hour parking. Is that a code? Is that an ordinance in town?
Yes.
Do we enforce that, or do we enforce the handicap parking when people park? Can people park in a handicap spot all day?
Not daily, I'll admit that.
Well, and I know, but I'm saying if we're gonna have them, let's just, and I know that we're shorthanded sometimes, and there's a lot bigger things for our police department to do
Right.
than to worry about how people are parking, but not only me, but I see other businesses. I really don't have a problem. Like I said, I told you the number we've had come in our store. And I'm proud of the city for what they're doing to bring people into this town. So I'm not knocking for myself, but as a business owner and as a citizen that owns several properties in town, I can see that we need to kind of look into this stuff maybe in the
Yes.
future, okay?
Okay, thank you.
But again, you guys got your plates full, and what I'm saying right now is minor. I'm proud of what you're taking on.
But it's still important.
And I appreciate what you're doing, all of you. Thank you very much.
Well,
Thank you,
thanks,
Jeff.
Jeff. It's,
All
hey,
right.
nothing's minor, Jeff.
Anyone else? Public comment. All right, come on up. Norma? We already do.
I am asking, Norma Ferris of Buchanan.
Thank you.
I'm asking for you to purchase a map cabinet. We have one at the local history room. You have maps and you have aerial views in this building that are not being maintained. Maps are getting dirty, maps have light, and you leave something all,
Okay.
and you can't use it.
Okay. All right.
You asked for things for the budget. No, I'm not an employee, but consider it.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Norma.
Thank you,
Thank
Norma.
you.
Yep. Right, anyone else? All right, and with that, I'll close public comments. We'll go on to item 10, city manager's comments.
Again, I thank everyone for enduring the meeting tonight and helping us maneuver our way through this process better. This week, I'll hopefully provide you in your briefing on Friday the budget process schedule. Julie is putting that together. We'll get it out to you. I think in February, we actually have our first meeting and process right up until we approve our budget in May. So, and I have not received anything from Selge on the cost of the sewage repair. I'm holding my breath and crossing my fingers. It isn't too desperately bad, but it could be. So, again, so
And I wanted to just interject, thank you for sending someone over to kind of smooth it out today, because it takes a lot of abuse and the parents coming to and from school, you know, people wait to go around it. It was causing quite a backup, so keeping it smooth is very helpful.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately the time that this occurred. We don't have an asphalt plant available to smooth that out, so we're trying our best with millings or grindings from asphalt and concrete to try to keep some type of structure in that hole. And it's going to cause us to police it all winter until May, when the plants open up, and we will have that on the first project for affordable to address. So that's what I've got so far. So.
All right. With that, we'll go on to the commissioners' comments. We'll start this evening with Commissioner Moore. Commissioner Moore?
My first comment was, sorry about my coughing. I don't know, just something got to me. So, and I did want to say I'm sorry on behalf of the city that we're disappointing so many families with the canceling of Thrill on the Hill. I know there's a lot of planning that went into that, so I hope, and I appreciate all the sponsors that are going to carry on with us through the summer, so I'm hopeful we'll have an even better and bigger summer Thrill, and any way we can speed that summer to come, I would vote for that.
It's here this week.
Yeah, right, not for long. Okay, and also I wanted to report on the Fine Arts Council, which is one of my committees. We have a special event coming, and I would like you all to think about seeing this, but in honor of Black History Month, the Fine Arts Council will be presenting the play For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Was Enough. This play will be only on the Tin Shop for four shows. So starting February 1st, a Thursday night, the 2nd, the 3rd, and a Sunday matinee on the 4th. That will be your opportunity in town to see the show. It will also, the same cast, this is a unique situation. We are actually sharing the cast and production with another theater. So they will be taking that show up to the box factory. So we have local talent in it. There's talent from other areas in this play. I do have to caution everyone, we are advising that the play be seen by people 16 years old and up. No children below that. Also, it has adult situations and it does contain strong language. So be prepared for that. I hear it's a very awesome production, so this is a very unique time where we're branching out our offerings, and I hope you support the live theater in town. It's very important to try to do and see something that you ordinarily would not see. So if you would like to get a seat, reserve your seat. It is not, this production is special. It is not part of the season tickets. So call 269-695-6464 to reserve your seat. Please support the live theater in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Viganski?
I got a couple questions about the landfill. Did you follow up with the shotgun thing I was talking to you about?
They've been looking into that even before I asked about it, and I haven't heard anything back.
Okay, that gun, contact Waterville Elite, because that's a special federal license.
Okay.
I would like for you to ask them about televising that session again and paying for it so the city doesn't have to. And then we can publicize it on Channel 17. And I don't know that fog, with that fog yesterday, we drove out past there. It was absolutely tear-jerking, absolutely tear-jerking. And Jackie even said something about how disgusting it was. So, I mean, I don't know if there's anything really that they can do about it. I'm just passing it on. I'm just glad I don't live out that direction. Actually, the scent was clear into the city yesterday with the fog. And, I mean, the fog's holding it all down. Thanks, guys, for coming. Sorry. It's first time, though. I mean, there's some speed bumps, big time. I don't go to the play, but I might. I'm trying to suck up the Pat. I'm done.
Okay. All right, Carla?
Oh, I just wanted to say, I was disappointed in the not having the thrill, but the weather just isn't cooperating for us. Too warm to make the snow. We wouldn't have even had the slush like we had before. So all we can say is go forward and have a fantastic summer thrill. Thank you guys for coming in tonight and putting up with all of our questions and comments, and good luck on it.
Okay, Commissioner Turney?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple things. I want to thank JT because we had some questions with our recent snowfall. I had some people call me, and I found out some other things. And so I asked JT to try to get some questions to my answers, which he did almost like the next day. And I want to thank him a lot for doing that. And Julie for getting the information that I want as far as the budget for the last 5 years on snow plowing, because the biggest thing in my estimation is the one thing that Buchanan cannot fail at is snow plowing. You have to forgive me, I've got a cold. And I also asked JT that maybe he can get something together for our budget meeting in February on things that the city could need or something we can do to help our department with the snow plowing. Our snow plowers are down a guy. They've had to fill in. They put many hours in. They're under the trucking laws too. They can only go 11 hours and then they need the rest. We just went through a real bad time with 3 weeks of constant snow. So you're going to see that. And then you're going to see the good weather too when it comes in March. But I really want to put an extra thank you to JT and his crew, and also to, again, the JT and the water crew, because I stopped and spoke to them several times as the first day when the whole thing was going, and the look in their eyes was that they didn't know what was going on. And after I found out about the pipe and everything, so they did an outstanding job. I was concerned that They needed some extra things, and I understand the city took care of some lunch for them and so on, because that was like a 24-hour play there. So kudos to the city employees for doing an outstanding job. The last thing, I'm on the Planning Commission, and at our last Planning Commission meeting, I counted 48 people there. That was a tremendous showing. We approved 5 special uses that particular night, so I was happy to see that take place. One of the planning commissioners who went to one of the educational seminars actually turned his mind and opened his mind to what you gentlemen are trying to do, and which a lot of people in the community don't go to these educational things to find out what it's all about. So I understand that a couple of the other dispensaries are going to put these educational programs out. I learned something, okay? I mean, it was like, I've been on this thing since February. So there was a lot of people that were for it, so I'm happy to see that. A lot of business owners. So I just want to thank everybody. And that's all right now I got to say.
Okay. I just wanted to let everybody know that Redbud Area Ministries is having a canned food drive, and I am personally formed my own team, and I would like to collect 500 cans. There's a collection box out in the lobby, so if you find it in your heart to help out RAM in any way you can just drop off the canned goods there. If you would like to make a monetary donation, you could write out a check to RAM, give it to me, and then I'll get credit for that. It's a little competition they have in conjunction with the Super Bowl. In addition, those children that were here tonight, they were very close. That was close to being a huge tragedy. If you don't have a CO2 detector on all the levels of your home, you need to do that right away. It was it could have been super tragic. And they spent the whole day in the hospital getting their CO2 levels in their blood reduced back down to normal. So they were very lucky, and thank you all for entertaining them. They're some of my favorite little people. And I think that's all I have. Yeah, and with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
No.
Oh, wait, we have to, go to I need a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make that move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, you don't have to hang around.
But you're welcome to.
Yeah.
I'll get you copies tomorrow. I'll scan them.
I'll scan them and send them out.